So I think that's how, when we looked at Citizens United when it was being litigated, there's this rich history going back to the founding of government being able to regulate corporations. And certainly when it comes to democracy, there should be that limitation.
To us, in the grassroots, a corporation, it's an entity or it's an invention of government. A corporation has legal rights because we, through government, have given corporations legal rights.
But corporations are not people, and corporations do not have constitutional rights, in my opinion as a citizen.
The court ruled in 2010 that corporations, business corporations, have the same free speech right as individuals to spend their money on election ads. I knew from that moment that my next book was going to be on the constitutional rights of corporations. Because the story that the book tells is that it's a much longer story than Citizens United. That Citizens United has taken the issue of constitutional protections for corporations and put it on the map, if you will, brought it into our public consciousness. But corporations were using the Constitution and have been using the Constitution to expand their power, to protect the free market from government regulation since the earliest days of America.
The end result of this 28th Amendment that we win must enable people's movements to do even more after it is ratified to gain back the reins of government. To start, it needs to reverse what the conspirators knew was the key to their power, giving corporations the protection of constitutional rights and stopping Congress and the states from setting up campaign finance laws.
Just so everybody understands what we're talking about, outside of political spending, there's a disturbing trend of business corporations raising constitutional challenges to laws that don't involve campaign spending. We're talking now about, for example, tobacco companies successfully challenging laws that limit their ability to advertise near schools, or tobacco companies, by the same token, challenging FDA rules on graphic warning labels that they're supposed to put on their cigarette boxes, saying that it's compelled speech. Or one case that I tried about a mile from the Dred Scott Courthouse in St. Louis involving Peabody Coal, claiming that a municipal ballot initiative that would deprive tax subsidies to fossil fuel companies was violating its rights under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment.
But I would be willing to remove corporations from the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment. And at that point, if we want to have conversations about whether they have property rights or whether they have Fourth Amendment rights or Fifth Amendment rights or due process rights, I think those are conversations that we can have with corporations removed from the table.
And I think we just want to think about those different kinds of rights that are out there and the different kinds of corporations that are out there, and make sure that whatever amendment language that we have is targeted to get at the problem we really want to get at, and not targeting and won't have the unintended consequences of stopping the kinds of corporate rights that in some circumstances, when push comes to shove, we don't really disagree with. The fact that corporations might have a property right, or nonprofit corporations might have some speech rights.
First of all, on the money and politics issue, I think from Common Cause's perspective, if we're going to limit corporations' speech, it should apply to unions and nonprofits. It's everybody, right? It's not sort of exceptions for some and the people who I like. It's got to apply to everybody.
People have a lot of different opinions on how to get to the finish line. The same with members of Congress. We all have kind of different approaches on how we could best deal with the issue of money and politics, and its its corruptive influence on our politics. I mean, I have two different amendments. I have another bill that would be a constitutional amendment to deal with the issue of corporate personhood. My colleague Rick Nolan has kind of combined the Democracy for All amendment with the corporate personhood amendment. I'll put it into one. And there's some concern whether that's trying to bite off too much all at once, or whether we should just do this more modestly. But by modestly, I don't mean ineffectively. I'm just saying there's different approaches here.